Last night I dreamed my younger brother and I went to an IMAX theater to watch a UFC event that was going to be broadcast live. Now, this wasn't the Henry Ford IMAX that I mentioned in my last video. This was some other IMAX theater, and at this theater tickets weren't being sold by any kind of a counter by employees of the theater. The tickets were being sold by actor Jonah Hill, who was sitting behind a folding table just outside of the entrance of the theater. And so I walked up to the folding table where Jonah Hill was sitting, and I said, okay, I need 3 tickets. I needed 3 tickets because fellow YouTuber Tom the Man 68 was going to be arriving in just a few minutes. He was going to watch this with us. And Jonah Hill looked up at me and he said, dude, this is a 3D event, which I didn't know. And I mean, it's totally awesome. I mean, you definitely want to see this in 3D. Thing about it is, only the people seated in the first 10 rows are going to be able to see the 3D effect. And we have 1 ticket left, so you should totally buy it, man. I mean, there's plenty of tickets beyond the first 10 rows, but we only have 1 ticket left for within the first 10, so you should buy it. Thought about it, and I thought, well, that sounds good. Yeah, okay. All right, give me 1 ticket, the 1 remaining ticket within the first 10 rows, and 2 more. So I got them, and I was trying to decide who was going to sit in that 10th row. And at first I thought, well, Tom the Man 68's our guest. I should be a gracious host. I should offer him the spot. But then I thought about it some more, and, well, Tom the Man 68's not really into sports. He was tagging along just to get out of the house and also to catch dinner afterwards. So, and I also thought that maybe he wouldn't feel comfortable sitting around people that he didn't know. And, my younger brother Dave's a good guy, Tom's a good guy. I figured they would just get along, so I decided I would take the 10th row spot. And, I was paying for the tickets too, so I took my 3D glasses, my 3 tickets. We all found our seats, and I don't remember who was fighting on the card that night, but I do remember when the lights went down just before the event was to be broadcast, I'd say about 80, maybe 85% of the audience, I mean, just all in unison, took heavy drags off of e-cigarettes. And you know how when you suck on those things, the tip glows. Typically it's a blue. And just the visual was startling. It looked like I was at a rock concert and everybody had pulled out their little pocket cigarette lighters and had lit them. And I just remember thinking, God, when everybody exhales all at once, it's going to be like we're in a sauna because you exhale vapor. And I don't remember who fought on the card. I don't remember who won. The next thing I remember is exiting the IMAX theater and walking on the sidewalk beside Dave and Tom the Man 68. And for some reason, the sidewalk was elevated like 3.5 or 4 feet above the street. And I'm just looking down, thinking, God, this is kind of a treacherous little drop here. If one of us loses our footing, we're going to get hurt falling onto the street from this height. And so I'm walking carefully here because I'm close to the edge, and for some reason the people who were walking past us on this sidewalk, they were incredibly rude. I mean, they were staring straight ahead. They weren't making any effort to move out of our way. They weren't tilting their shoulders as they passed us. They were bumping into us as they passed us. It was as if they were automatons. I mean, they just no emotion, bumping into us. It was a hazardous little walk, and thankfully none of us fell. But next thing I remember, we wound up at this gala event. I mean, there was actually a red carpet, and all of the ladies were dressed in beautiful gowns, and most of the men present were wearing tuxedos with bow ties. I have no idea why they let us in, but they did. And we were walking around, and eventually a young lady walked up to me, and she said, "Hello, Josh." And I didn't recognize her. I'd never seen her before. I said, "Hello." And she walked behind me, and she kind of playfully put her hand on the side of my neck And at that moment, one of her acquaintances, this petite girl with, she was a brunette. Again, I didn't recognize her either, walked up, and the girl who was standing beside me and had her hand on my neck all of a sudden clenched my throat a little bit harder than she'd been holding on my neck before. And she said, "Look," I can't remember her friend's name, but it started with an S. It might, maybe Sylvia, Shannon, I can't remember, but she said, "Look, it's Josh." And then she really clenched my throat hard. I got the impression that she had some beef with this girl and wanted to mock this girl's obsession with me. She grabbed my throat and she guided my face in the direction of her friend, who just looked embarrassed and frightened to see me. I didn't know who either of these girls were. And just as I'm grabbing her wrist and saying, "Hey, hey, hey," I woke up in an agitated state. And probably 5 or 10 seconds later, my alarm clock started beeping. And I hadn't really gotten much sleep at all last night, so I tried to fall back asleep. I laid back on my pillow even though I knew I had to get up. And I actually started dreaming again momentarily. But I was still hearing this dee, 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 and there was something about this mechanical repeated beeping that made me dream for just a moment that I was in a hospital and I was a doctor and my name was being paged over the intercom. And then I just opened my eyes again, shook my head, got out of bed, turned the lousy alarm clock off, and got my day rolling.